welcome to the September Blue Trails Guide webinar. My name is Faye Augustin, and I am an Associate Director with American Rivers. I'm really pleased to have all of you join us today to learn how maps can help you, utilizing interactive maps to prioritize recreation and conservation. As always, just a couple little pieces of background information. If you're having any technical issues, if your connection is lost or your screen freezes, you can try logging in again using your unique web link and passcode that was provided to you when you registered with GoToWebinar. Additionally, this webinar is being recorded and will be available next Monday, 9/26, available for viewing at bluetrailsguide.org/blog. If you have any other follow-up questions for myself or for Laila, our presenter today, my contact information is at the bottom of the page, and I'm happy to connect you with her or answer any questions you might have. And finally, we encourage a active audience participation. So we love questions that you have, and we encourage you to ask any and all questions throughout. There's a question box in the GoToWebinar side panel of your screen, and you can feel free to type them into that question box at any time during the webinar. We'll save about 5 minutes at the end to answer as many questions as we can, and those that are not answered, in addition to the ones that are, will be available in transcript form on our blog after the webinar is over, again on Monday, September 26th, and that's available at bluetrailsguide.org/blog. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter for the day, my colleague Laila Johnston, who is the Winyah Bay Coordinator for American Rivers and is our in-house GIS and mapping expert. And we're just going to switch screens really quick, so just bear with us for a quick moment, and then we'll have Laila go ahead and start the presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Again, I'm Laila Johnston. I am the Winyah Bay Coordinator with American Rivers, and I am based in Conway, South Carolina, which is right outside of Myrtle Beach for you that aren't really familiar with the area. So I do GIS a lot in my work, and I'm super excited to share how it can be useful to everybody, either at the intro level to those experts out there. So what's on the map for my presentation today? I completely acknowledge my terrible pun, but agenda is just too boring. So first, we're going to be kind of answering the question of what is the power of mapping? What is GIS? You know, why should I use it? And then how does GIS work? This is broken down into 5 easy steps. And then I'm sharing a few examples of American Rivers projects and how we utilize GIS to different ends, whether it's storytelling or project tracking or putting up those deliverables for our different grants out there. And then where to find GIS data. That can also be one of the lengthy parts of the process in using GIS. So I just wanted to, pay a little attention to that and where are some different sources out there to look besides just handy-dandy Google. And then utilizing existing interactive maps. There are several maps out there and mapping websites where they already have things created for your use, so you're not reinventing the wheel. And then, of course, those few minutes at the end for questions, and I really encourage you to ask anything that's on your mind. So first is the power of mapping. GIS is an amazing resource, and a lot of us have either dabbled in it or have seen the results from, this mapping system. But what is GIS? GIS, I love this question because a lot of people stare at me, is it like Word? Is it like Excel? How does it work? GIS stands for Geographic Information System, and it lets us visualize, question, analyze is a big part of it, and interpret data to understand relationships, patterns, and trends. A big part of it is that you form a question, you form a goal, and you're trying to figure out how you can understand it, question it, manipulate the data, interpret it, and visualize it in multiple ways. A lot of times we see the results of GIS in big reports when you see those beautiful, colorful maps, or Even something, when you think of Google Maps and it has different points on it, that's done through GIS. GIS software helps you answer questions and solve problems by looking at your data in a way that is quickly understood and easily shared on a map. I love the maps. I think they're an easy way to look at things. And instead of just having charts or all that language in your reports, a lot of times it's one easy visual way to show your results or to plan for recreation or conservation. GIS, I broke it up in how does it work in this 5-step process. Number 1, of course, is to ask, what is the problem you're trying to solve or analyze, and where is it located? Really getting a good answer to this is kind of like creating a good thesis for a paper or a report. It really focuses you in on what you're doing instead of to cover everything out there. There is a ton of data that can be utilized in GIS, so really identifying exactly what you're trying to accomplish will really help you focus and utilize your time to maximize your efficiency. Number 2 is acquiring your data. You need to find the data needed to complete your project. Again, there's tons of stuff out there. There's aerial data, there's water quality data, there's parcel data, there's all sorts of things. And then examining it. This one might sound a little threatening or make you a little nervous because this is about manipulating your data and making sure that this is the right format you want to use, really examining it and ensuring that it is what you need. And then analyzing it is basically the process of changing it to show what you need. There's a lot of different tools and analysis methods to choose from in GIS. That is one of the more technical points, but there are some more user-friendly methods out there. So something to really emphasize in GIS is that there are people that have advanced degrees in GIS and do this as a full-time career. But then there's also people that you can be an intro level. You can open GIS maps online and easily manipulate them to show you the data that you need. And then there's also, the medium level analysts where they use it part of the time in their job to show different maps and different projects that they're working on or to go into reports. But you're still jack of all trades. You're a report writer, you're a grant writer, you're a scientist, you're a recreation manager, and GIS just helps you tell part of your story. So I just don't want anyone to be overwhelmed by these steps or the idea of GIS. The analysis step can be very basic in the interactive maps out there, or it can be super, super technical in model building and using programming language for those that are more advanced in using GIS. And then the last step is ACT, and this is the process of sharing your results of your analysis. There's several choices for this. A lot of people put them in reports where you have a graphic. You can also create charts to tie into them. You can create a recreation map, like a water trail map, that you can print and disseminate out to the general public. So there's a lot of different choices, and you can also create a map that can be used internally or externally that's housed online that different people can come in and use. So there's a lot of different choices for sharing your results. Internal, external, we definitely have maps that show all of our active projects and different things that we're doing on an internal basis, and then separate maps that only use parts of the data and parts of the layers to share with the, either the general public or with our foundation grants and that type of thing. So you can create different types of maps out of the same information for different purposes. So some examples for you. This is the Ashley River Blue Trail map. It is in Charleston, South Carolina, and this is just a shot of part of it. This was used, GIS was used to create the access points and show you where the trail starts and ends and things that you can see along the way. As you can see here, there's text, there's everybody that was part of the Blue Trail map process. We have the access points with what's there. It's a boat launch, there's parking, there's picnic tables, there's hiking, there's restrooms. So it's a tool for, layering all these different things together and having this really great visual representation that's out there. This specific map was printed on waterproof paper and is disseminated out through Parks and Rec, the county, and American Rivers. The second example is the Conservation and Partnerships map in the Greater Winyah Bay Watershed. This is where I am, and the Waccamaw River runs along the coast through this area, which is one of the primary rivers that I work on. This map is really great for storytelling and project management. It shows you who's working where, how do you overlap, where can you partner together so that you're not duplicating efforts, and really being efficient and effective in your area. We partner with a lot of these organizations. The Riverkeeper is an active partner, the Nature Conservancy is an active partner, PD Land Trust, and you can see where different people are working together so we can collaborate on different projects. And this is one of my favorite types of maps because I'm just a big fan of bright colors and seeing really good information in one shot. This is a land use map of the Greater Winyah Bay. This is just a picture showing you all the different land uses in the area. This is really useful for recreation planning and conservation planning. And again, it's a quick, easy storytelling map. So this is created in a landscape conservation design effort for several projects in the area. So you can see what the potential is. And of course, you can zoom in on areas and you can focus on areas in GIS. So if you want to look at the lower part of the river or the upper part, or you want to look at the state line, there's tools where you can do all of those different types of things. But this picture, you can see where the intact forests are, you can see where the river corridors are, and you can see where the urban areas are, those bright red areas. And another thing with land use maps is that you can also condense this to just be a few categories instead of all these different colors and categories on this map. So forests could all come together instead of having all these different choices. But this is just a more detailed map. But it can be simplified to only have, 5 or 6 colors if that's what you wanted to do. And then this is our SAC basin, which I work in. And this is kind of an internal tracking and then also tracking for headquarters and our different grants and deliverables that we have. And it shows the dam removals and then our active blue trails in the basin. And so this is really great for just kind of keeping track of what's going on, and you can add your points as you get more done, or if we created a new blue trail, which we actually have and hasn't been added to this. We just launched the Tuckasegee Blue Trail in Western Carolina, so that's an addition for me to make after this. But it's a tracking tool, and so if you have a comprehensive plan, this is something that you can put in and update as you have successes along the way. And then finally, this is another one. These are all kind of different to show you the different things that GIS can do. This is green infrastructure in North Carolina, and it's for tracking our work again and our basin work of where different projects have taken place, what they are, and then you can also track how successful they've been, or you could tie in monetary numbers of how expensive they've been. And it's just a really great tracking tool. It can be used for a lot of different reasons, and GIS can benefit organizations of all sizes and in almost every industry. So folks on here may be in the conservation world, you may be in the recreation trail world, you might be a funder, and so all of these can tell different stories and be really useful, whether you're looking at cost efficiency or internal tracking, or economic and strategic values of your different projects. So as I mentioned before, finding the GIS data for your project can be part of a very lengthy part of the process. That's something where it's hard for non-GIS users sometimes because we want to think that it operates like Excel or Access or Word, where it's just a snap of our fingers. But when you have a really good question identified, gathering the data is the most important part, because you want to make sure that you're gathering the pertinent data and the most recent data, or the correct year, or that's telling the right story. Sometimes also you need multiple types of data to put together. An example could be just on this list, you might want city boundaries, county boundaries, you might want a hydrographic layer showing the rivers and streams, you might want all the boat launches in the area. And so where do you get those different things to put together to create a really useful map? So on this list, a lot of cities have dedicated at least a dedicated GIS person or house some GIS data. A lot of counties have some really good data. It's less likely for the more rural, low-income counties to have GIS data, but it's always worth an ask. And then a lot of the states have GIS clearinghouses. One of my favorites is NRCS, which is done by the USDA. I will go on to a slide dedicated just to them. EPA, the U.S. Census Bureau, is going to have your population and demographic information. If you want to look at where people are living, if you're trying to target a certain audience for your work, such as a recreation trail or creating a new park, and you want to make sure that you're reaching different populations. It'll also have stuff like education level, income level. Then there's Esri, which runs ArcGIS. They have lots of stuff that's available for free or you can pay for. I like to use stuff for free personally. And then universities all over the country, a lot of them have undergraduate and graduate degrees in GIS and will have something available on their website. I use a lot locally. Stanford has some great stuff. And so a lot of times you can even just Google in, and a university site is also, often a reliable place to go. USGS has GIS data, ArcGIS Online, which I will talk about, also does, and then crowdsourcing sites like OpenStreetMap, where this is becoming more common, where people can actually add layers that they've created. And so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can look for stuff that's already out there. But you also want to be cautious with crowdsourcing because you want to make sure that the information is correct. And then, of course, talk to your partners and see what they already have. For us, some of our partners have created, the layers that show all the protected land in the state. And so we don't need to recreate that. They can just share that. And then also partners or cities and counties will also often share things with you. You may have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which means you can only use it for a specific purpose, but it's still a great way to get data. So this is one of my favorite places to get GIS data. It's the USDA NRCS GeoSpatial Data Gateway. That is the website there, but you can just type in NRCS and GIS into Google and it will take you here. This is a really great website because they house stuff from a bunch of different agencies on this website. And you can, if you look in that bottom right corner, you can order it in different ways. You can order it by city, by county, by multiple counties, by state, by place, meaning your own boundaries that you've set up, by using latitude and longitude. There's all sorts of information on here, so it's often in the conservation world one of the first places that I check. You can get, rivers out of here, county boundaries, state boundaries. There's information from the Census Bureau in here. And then there's, natural resource and conservation data in here. So it's a great just kind of one-stop shop. It's an easy first check for me. And then this is an example, again, I work in South Carolina, of what a state GIS clearinghouse might look like. This is another great site for what I'm doing in South Carolina, in-state work. And it houses data from several different agencies. So you'll see that list there. And there's all sorts of stuff that I can get here. And then some of them may take you outside, to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resource site. It might take me out. I know for the Department of Health and Environmental Control, it does take you to their specific site. And you can download information on source water intakes or 301D listings for water quality issues. And so it's great if you can look for the states that you work in to see if they have something like this. And then, of course, you can always reach out to those state agencies on a personal level and see if they have something specific that they just have to pass through FOI to give to you. And then, of course, there are interactive maps out there. These are maps that are housed generally that already have the data that you need or give you a quick shot into a question you might have. And you can export the data or export the map you need. And so this is a really great resource for people that don't have high-level technical skills in GIS. It's for the intro people. You have used these whether you know it or not. You know, you may not know that they were created in GIS, but they are GIS maps. An example is, this is the South Carolina Watershed Atlas. It was released earlier this year by South Carolina DHEC, our Department of Health and Environmental Control. It is a great website for looking at water quality issues and conservation issues. And you can click on those different boxes on the left side and it shows you different things. You can see the source water permits. You can see where the public water supplies are. You can see where the water monitoring stations are. You may have used a map like this in USGS where you want to see a certain area. You want to click on the station and see the data. It shows you the different basins that are in South Carolina. You can also click and see them at a smaller level by clicking on the 8-digit watersheds, the 10-digit watersheds, or the 12-digit watersheds. Those are the HUCs, the HUCs that are developed by USGS. And so you can use this map, click on the different boxes to see what you want to see, and then a lot of times you can export the map for your use. So if you need something like this for a report or for a project, you don't need to import all these layers and create it yourself when it's already out there. And then Esri, which I mentioned before, which is the top GIS leader in the United States, has also launched ArcGIS Online. This is the future of ArcGIS. So instead of people having advanced training or having degrees in GIS and having ArcGIS on their personal computer to use, they've moved over to ArcGIS Online. It also makes it a lot easier to share your projects. So instead of, you know, I created a map and it's on my computer, and to share stuff with you, I need to send all of this stuff to you. It takes up a lot of space. It takes a long time to transfer. This is a way that you can make everybody internally or all your partners can share and use the same map and add different data, manipulate different things so everybody can see it. It's also great and more user-friendly for people at the introduction level. They now are including several ready-to-use maps. You can explore maps about people and businesses, landscapes and climate. And so there's a lot of stuff just ready for you to use. So an example could be, I want to see all of the parks in South Carolina and all of the boat launches and maybe all of the, you know, populated cities. And those maps will be ready to go, and you can just click them and use them instead of going out and finding them on your own and loading them on your own. And there's also a 60-day free trial for ArcGIS Online. And so it's also a much more cost-effective way than using it on your own computer, because ArcGIS requires a license for each user and can get fairly expensive. There is, in the nonprofit world, we are able to share licenses, and there's also some cheaper options, so it's not as expensive. But ArcGIS Online is a great alternative, and this is a way for those of you that are at the introduction level can go in and kind of fiddle with it and see the different things that it can do. And again, like I said, it is much more user-friendly. And so you can just put ArcGIS Online into Google or your favorite search engine. I don't want to just advertise for Google. And go ahead and see what can be done. Even in colleges and universities now, they're teaching ArcGIS Online instead of using ArcGIS 10.3, which is the most recent version to use on your personal computer. And so it's a great tool, and I think it's a great way for you to go in and fiddle with stuff. And as you can see just by these examples up here, you know, it has aerial photography, and all sorts of different things. And you can also use something basic that you may use already, is you can also go in and use Google Earth and that type of thing, and export the information that you need. So that is my kind of introduction overview plus of GIS and the different things it can do for you. I really love the maps that it can create and the stories that it can tell. That's the #1 use for me, is that it's a great storytelling tool, and that it's a quick visual instead of having a 5-page report on things. A lot of times you can just show one picture and it can tell a really great story. You can show the protected lands, or you can show the different types of recreation available in your county, or you can show the impaired segments of rivers in your state. And just, it's a quick snapshot that can really get a discussion going. So at this time, I will let people ask the questions that they may have, and thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laila, for taking time out of your day to walk us through kind of an overview of GIS and how we can use it in conservation and recreation planning. So at this time, if you haven't already asked your questions, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the question box in your GoToWebinar side panel. We've got some already in there. We probably have time for 2 or 3 questions, so please feel free to ask questions now. And then, as always, the questions that we are not able to get to, we will answer them in a transcript after the webinar is completed. So the first question that we have, Laila, is a little bit more about kind of helping a newbie with GIS. So what's the best way to find either a person that's good at doing GIS, and are there like good places that you can go, whether it's a local university or something like that, to find somebody to help you to create a GIS map?
Sure, that's a great question. So a lot of times organizations may not have a GIS person, and that is okay. There are several places to look. My first recommendation would be checking in with your partners to see if they have somebody that has GIS experience and skills, or if they may have a dedicated GIS analyst on staff that you can partner with on projects. Another great option is that, in our world today, in our economy, college students are always looking for internships. I have personally used 2 GIS interns in the last couple of years that have been awesome. One was a master's student, and the other was an undergraduate. And, they needed real-life skills using, GIS and working on projects. And so I had them for a semester each and had something very specific for them to do. So if you have an internship program, or you have a relationship with a local university, or you have a place that you can list an internship, I think having a GIS intern, especially if you have a specific question that can be answered through GIS, is a wonderful project to get free or cheap labor. And it's great for them because it looks amazing on a resume. GIS skills are something that are really desired nowadays. And then also, if you're looking, you can hire GIS consultants. We've used some in the past when we have money in our funding to be able to do so. And again, you can look out there for, there's several if you're looking for somebody local or somebody on a national scale. They generally work in one thing or another, so look for somebody that has the skills that you need. And then also, most universities will have a GIS department. And I actually, at Coastal Carolina University in Conway, one of the classes actually worked with us, and we gave them one of the questions, and the teacher worked with them on solving it. So it was really useful in her class, and then it was also useful for getting some great maps to use in our work. And then also, a lot of times the professors are able to contract on the side, and so that's an easy way to find a consultant, or they can point you in the right direction. But those are people that have masters and PhDs in, GIS. So they have the skills that you need.
Great, thanks, Laila. A second follow-up kind of question to that is asking more about the scope of your map and the question that you're trying to answer. Are there ever, is there a limit for how many questions you might want to answer within one map? Is there sort of a certain number of layers that makes the map more or less effective?
That really depends on your question. I have several maps where I have tons and tons of layers in them. And then I just, you can click stuff on or off or manipulate different things. And so there's definitely not a maximum amount of data that you can put in any of them. It's just making sure that with your final product that you're actually exporting and using either online or in a report or in a printable map is answering what you need. And there's different data that answers questions better. For example, if you're looking at, the land use data, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of land use data layers out there. And so if you're more focused on the forest layers and what trees are out there, you might want something more detailed that breaks it down. Or if you're looking for something more simplified, you might want a data layer that only has 12 different categories rather than some of the land use layers out there have 400 different categories. So that was just the example of, you know, finding which data is going to answer the question you want. But you can also import different things and use them for different ultimate products.
Awesome. Well, that was really helpful, Laila. And given the fact that it is 11:30 and being mindful of everybody's schedules, I am going to go ahead and cap the questions now. However, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Laila. And as I mentioned earlier, this webinar is recorded. We'll have the webinar posted as well as a transcript of all of the questions that were asked available next Monday, September 26th on the Blue Trails Guide website at bluetrailsguide.org/blog. I'd like to thank Laila Johnston for her fantastic presentation on using mapping, interactive mapping for recreation and conservation. And I'd like to thank all of you as participants for joining us for our September Blue Trails Guide webinar. I'd love to encourage you to join us back in October on the 18th for our October webinar. So stay tuned for more information on that. Thank you all so much and have a great rest of your Tuesday.